All right, looks like we're live, and I'm here with my frequent sidekick, who's once again back in sidekick duty. Luke, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, Bechtloff. How are you doing?
Not bad. Let me
Even though I've only been here for a weekend, Arizona is awesome.
hmm. Let me. Sorry, I had to mute. I had. I had us 2 seconds ago in my ear too. But yeah, how Arizona treating you good? That's good to know.
Yeah.
Glad you got out of California before you got the AIDS.
Yes.
Because
And
you're just
another,
allowed to give that to people on purpose.
oh, good grief! I mean, can California? I mean, yes, he can. California can get dumber, but it's just astonishing how willing they are to go off that cliff.
I'm telling you, we need to California was talking about seceding. If that ever happened, I think Mexico would build a wall to keep Californians away.
Of course, that's the only place where the immigrants go these days to get away from Mexico. So, that isn't as demanding on them.
Really. Well, I just got back from work. It's 12:30 here on the East Coast. Technically Monday morning. I get home around midnight from my job. It's get out at 11:30, and I mean I like this job. It's not a bad job. It's a place I used to work at like 10 years ago, and I started there part time because the full time schedules are insane. The amount of overtime is fucking ridiculous, and I don't want to go back to that. That's why I left. But part time's better than just unemployment. So I got to admit though, I forgot how physical of a job it is. You're doing a lot of stuff with your hands. You're doing a lot of moving over, bending over, picking up. It's high pace, and I got to first of all, I sat on ass for like 6 months. I mean, I did some stuff. I went to the gym, and I did some. I learned some skills in a wood shop and stuff like that. But man, it's good to be back at work. I needed it. But Thursday, I
Oh
actually
yeah.
pulled a little bit of a muscle in my arm,
Hmm.
and it hurt like a bitch.
This will be my next project. I'll replace the Florida with California.
Wait, let's just oh.
This will be my next quick meme project.
Uh, I have an artist friend is gonna the Virgin versus Chad memes. I
Mm-hmm.
told her to draw me up real quick one of the for Halloween of the Virgin Jason versus the Chad Freddy.
Oh,
And I'm going to list a bunch of reasons because I think I'm planning on because I'm not going to be able to do a like decent time Halloween stream because I work that day. I work Tuesdays, but Monday night I could do a technically Tuesday morning one on Halloween and on the on good old celebrating 500 years of not giving a fuck what the Pope says. That's always nice too. But I want to talk about some horror movies that night, and so I'll probably throw if I got you on there with I'll throw up the Virgin Jason versus the Chad Freddy, and we'll discuss why Freddy is better than Jason at great length. But yeah, Thursday I pulled a little bit of a muscle in my arm, and it was like 2 hours left in the shift, and it just hurt like a bitch. Um, I got some icy hot that I keep with me at work now. But I actually have this really cool stuff at home. It's called Cobrazole or something like that, and it's like a pain. It's like a topical on your skin pain reliever, but it's made of like the active ingredient is cobra venom.
Cobra
And
Venom.
yeah, and because it numbs you. And his stuff works really good. I mean, I'm not sponsored by them, although if they want to sponsor me, they'd be more than welcome to. But it works really good. I swear by the stuff. I like it a lot. Um, but yeah, that hurt like a bitch. Just oh man. And I'm just the whole night after it happened the last 2 hours of the night. I'm like, it's your own fault. You fucking sit on ass for 6 months. What the hell you expect? Get yourself soft.
But back at my job, I was working 6 days a week, and I am not missing that at all.
Hmm. Yeah, that's well, the schedule, and again, I'm not going to name the company because I'm not going to dox myself for dumb shit like that. But the schedule that they do is they work people 12 days in a row. You have off every other weekend. And there's frequent 12-hour shifts, and on your work weekend, you're basically working 12-hour shifts. Like, just count them.
Oh, heavens.
Even the 12-hour days, I mean, yeah, 12-hour days suck, but that, working is already chewed up the day anyways. You might as well get a full, get extra time in. It's not having the days off. I did it for like 3 years. I left in 2007, and it drained me. I just couldn't stand it anymore. It just burned out on it. And some people, some people can do it. Some people are there like, fucking a million years or whatever. They were there when it was the dinosaur quarry in the Flintstones, but it's not for me. I did 3 years of it. I'm like, that's no way to live. But right now I'm doing a part-time thing where I work Sundays, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. And I can sign up for extra days if I want. So I could work, basically 6 days a week. And sometimes I might, for the extra money, but I have more control over the schedule. So it's nice. It's a nice little gig.
Godspeed to you then.
Yeah, and like I'm looking for better stuff, but at the same time, my unemployment was set to run out in November, and I have no confidence in it. You can technically renew it, like you can get an extension, but I'm a straight white Christian male, so I'm pretty sure I'm last in line for the give me dats. And I got this opportunity fell in my lap, so I took it. I'm wondering because I did the 1 week I did orientation, like Friday, and then I did like 4 hours of orientation Thursday. So I'm wondering if I could actually get a little bit of unemployment for those first 3 days in that week. I'll have to give that a shot tomorrow. Again, though, I'm straight. They might tell me to fuck off. I'm straight. They'll have that guy from the college on the phone screaming, "You're a white male.
You're oppressor. You don't get a sympathy.
You're a fucking white male."
Well, it's a weird thing because when he says that you're effing a white male, that's what he says.
I saw the meme where it was like they photoshopped his head onto like a mailman, and it said like, "Here's your white male." There was another one where he's like yelling at a white horse, and it's like, "You're a white mare."
Do you ever see the YouTube show Bus of Peace?
I don't believe I have, but that's already
sounds cool. But it's by an atheist animator, and driving down the road in a truck of peace on a busy highway, and the guy's running over Frenchmen. And one of the recurring characters is a guy who goes, "It's effing a white rock." Oh, that guy's been made into a meme for the rest of his life.
Here's it coming. Oh man, I liked working. I'm glad I'm working second shift again, though. It's nice. I've always been a night guy to begin with, and being out of work these past few months, I think it was like a week, and I'd completely revert it to like full on night owl. Like I'm up till like 3 or 4 in the morning. But that's just what I've always been. I'm not a morning guy. I can't stand it. That whole getting up in the AM thing. It's not for me. I gave it an honest try, but it's just not for me. Let's see. What else did I want to talk about this? I kind of want to see that Happy Death Day or whatever, that horror
Oh
movie.
yeah,
That looks really good.
it's
Oh, what
it's a ground it's Groundhog Day, except with you die every single night.
yeah, except somebody's trying to kill you. Um, I want to see Cult of Chucky. That looks pretty good too.
That's that new movie coming out.
Yeah, I think it's that. I think it was out on DVD. I don't think it was a theatrical release. But yeah, I definitely want to. I want to check out some more horror movies this month. You know, it's October. You got to check out some horror movies. You know,
Of course.
good old Halloween, fun on the bun. That baby mask in Happy Death Day is creepy as fuck. Like, I don't know why, but that's disturbing ass shit.
It's kind of like how you successfully make clowns evil scary.
You know, I was really surprised at how good it turned out. I wouldn't have seen that if not for the sponsored live stream, and I'm glad I did because it was good.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's really good is it came out a couple of years ago. It was Curse of Chucky, I think it was. It's the first really good Child's Play movie. Like, it's the first one that has genuine like tension and horror to it, you know? Because like the first Child's Play movie, it just that kid can't fucking act in it.
Yeah.
Like, he's just everything else about it works well, but that kid just sucks the air out of the room in every scene he's in. And then parts 2 and 3 are just bad sequels. And then like at parts like 4 and 5, they just give up and like, fuck it, it's a comedy now. It's like the one with Jennifer Tilly in them and shit.
Oh, they have to admit, it's like the idea of a doll attacking you is not immediately threatening, unless he catches you by surprise.
Yeah, if you know Chucky's coming, I mean, you can kick his ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hang on, let me take care of this whining ass dog. You know, he's quiet as shit until I start talking, and then he wants to run his mouth.
Right. I always forget his backstory, though, when let's see, Chucky from Child's Play. Was he a psycho killer that got reincarnated as a toy character, or was there something else involved? Because one thing I always hate about horror movies is when the villains have no clear motivation. But then again, really, the scariest villains have no motivation except for their evil, which is why Friday the 13th works out so well. Because, you know, there's nothing to like about Freddy Krueger. It's just, you know, he's an evil, irredeemable piece of filth. So what's there like about him?
Well, Krueger has a certain level of charm about him, almost like the Joker.
Yeah, he's like a charismatic villain.
See, I think the problem with the Nightmare or the Friday the 13th series is that, like, that movie series as a whole, like the mythos behind it and all, it's just a mess. I mean, it starts off like the first movie is, supposedly that retarded kid that drowned come back from the dead and he's killing everybody, but it turns out it's just his mom.
Mm-hmm.
And he never came back from the dead. And then the second one, it's like, oh no, it's him now. And he's mad that his mom died. And then later on in it, there's actual supernatural elements where it's like, you know, he's this sort of magically regenerating, you know, almost living spirit of vengeance thing. Which is fine. I kind of prefer that. I generally prefer if there's a supernatural element to a lot of, especially if you're going to have a continuing series. You know what I mean? Because, like, the Halloween movies, the first 2 I think are good, but as just a continuing villain, I mean, you could just shoot that guy, you know? Like, you can just shoot Mike Myers in the head. Shut up, dog. Shut up, dog. You're going to get an ass whooping.
Sorry, folks, we're experiencing technical difficulties on the Bechtloff podcast.
No, you shut up. I have dominion over you. I can legally kill you. You know that? I'd take you out back with my 45. Nobody would say a thing. No, I don't want to play at 12:30 at night, you little brat. Lay down. But yeah, like that's part of why I mean, and that's how like the Halloween movies degenerated into like, wasn't it like one where like Busta Rhymes is beating the shit out of him or something?
Right, I can't remember that one.
Hang on a second here. All right, fine, you little bugger. You can sit on my lap. Maybe that'll shut you up. Damn dog. I don't even like you, dog. But the Freddy ones, that's probably my favorite of the kind of ongoing series, horror series. That's easily my favorite. And there's just something really intimidating about, I mean, you can run from Jason. You can. No, you're not chewing on my headphone cord. You are being a little shit tonight.
There's Busta Rhymes fighting Michael.
Yep. Because that's the story that needed to be told there.
Yeah, but with Freddy, you're going to have to fall asleep eventually. Yeah,
there's something almost inevitable about that. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of the Freddy movies are fucking terrible. Freddy's Dead, for example, is horrifically bad. I heard somewhere that's one where that's the one that has Billy Zane's sister as an actress, and she playing this character that we find out partway through the movie is actually Freddy's daughter. But I actually heard somewhere that movie it's one of those movies that was in like development hell, and it ended up with like 2 or 3 scripts kind of sewn together.
Mm.
That happens sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I heard that about that one. Nightmare 1 and 3 are absolutely fantastic. 4 and 5 are all right. 2 is not bad, but it's kind of, they were trying some really different shit for the sequel, and it just sort of doesn't quite fit with the general direction of the series. Let's see. What the hell else? 7's really interesting. That's the one where it's like that's one where it's like this fourth wall breaking thing, that the new Nightmare one. Mm-hmm. Where it's basically like it's this really kind of cool meta narrative on just the nature of storytelling, where we cut to like that movie is about Wes Craven filming a new Freddy Krueger movie, and we come to find out that Freddy Krueger is actually a like ancient demon that haunts Wes Craven in his mind. Like it's this formless demon that takes on the form of something you imagine, which it kind of was an interesting little take on the nature of storytelling. Freddy vs. Jason is one of my favorite horror action type movies. I love that movie. That's easily my favorite Jason movie, just because it has Freddy in it. Because we all know the other best Jason movie is, of course, Jason X. Actually, in all seriousness, I think it was, I think, around 2010 there was a quote unquote remake of Friday the 13th, but it was just called Friday the 13th, but it almost could be more like a back to basics sequel. Like, there's nothing about it that couldn't have taken place after Freddy versus Jason. I no lie, I think that's actually by far the best of the Jason movies, because it sort of combines almost really the best elements of all of them. That said, though, my personal favorite is Jason X, because it's just delightfully bananas.
Oh yeah, Jason is. It was actually a used character in the Mortal Kombat X game.
So was Freddy. Well, not X. It was another Mortal Kombat. I think 9.
Yeah. And yeah, he has the entry theme. Like his yeah, he has 2 entry themes. Like he's dragging a girl with an axe in her head, and she throws her to the floor and pulls the axe out of her head, or his butcher knife. And the other one is just him walking with a dagger in his neck, and all of a sudden realizing, oh, there's a dagger in my neck, and pulls it out.
Well, again, by the later movies, he's this sort of just kind of supernaturally regenerating, almost undead thing. That's basically drawn to debauchery too. That's the other interesting thing. Like, eventually the movies would kind of make it canon. Like, the running joke is, 2 teenagers start fucking and Jason shows up and kills them. Well, eventually they would kind of make that canon that, like, he's actually drawn to that, like a moth to a flame, because he drowned as a boy because the camp counselors were smoking pot and fucking and not paying attention to him.
Right.
So he's almost like this spirit of vengeance designed to punish debauchery. I mean, he'll kill anything in his field of vision, don't get me wrong. But, like, it's not like if, a nun walks by, he's not going to throw a knife at her or something. But
he's not going to be drawn to a nun.
If there's a busload of nuns due west and a busload of porn stars due east, he's heading east.
Undead, murder, cyborg in space. So Jason X is Darth Vader.
I love Jason X. What happens is, like, at this point, like, the government is trying to, the story of Jason X is, at this point the government's trying to stop Jason, and they know he's, like, supernatural, and they know he can't be killed, so they figure they're gonna, like, lure him into this place where they can cryogenically freeze him, right? And they managed to do that, although, like, because he almost escapes partway through, the one government agent gets frozen too. And then, like, hundreds of years in the future, when the Earth is uninhabitable anymore, there's, like, and mankind has colonized other planets, there are people, like, digging through the wreckage of Earth, and they find the cryogenically frozen Jason, and they bring him on the spaceship and start heading back, because they assume he's dead, because he looks dead. You know what I mean? Right. And he, of course, awakens on, in their little ship morgue or whatever, and starts wreaking havoc.
Did they fit him out with a new uniform, or was that just something that happens for the movie?
Well, yeah, it happens in the movie because, like, there's these little nanites that, like, can medically heal people, right? Mm-hmm. Because, like, the government agent chick, she's got, like, a machete right through her gut when she's frozen, and they actually heal that with the nanites. Well, Jason gets into the nanites, and they go all haywire and make him, like, Super Jason.
Nice and polished Jason.
Yeah, and at one point, like, he's fighting like a robot dominatrix and shit like that. It's just delightfully bananas. I love the whole movie. Like, honestly, if anybody's like, hey, you want to pop in a Jason movie, my vote's always for Jason X. Now, I'm usually outvoted, but my vote's usually for Jason X. But yeah, I'm like, fuck yeah, Jason X. Everyone makes fun of that too, like, oh, it's in space. And I'm like, fuck that. I'm happy with that. You know what? As far as I'm concerned, every horror movie franchise can go to space, and I'm fucking happy with it, all right? We send children to corn in space. Make the rocket a fucking, like, make the silo a rocket. I don't give a fuck. It's fun, all right? It's funny. There was a Mad TV skit in the, like, mid-'90s about Jason in space, like it was a joke. Like he sneaks onto the fucking like NASA shuttle and he's slowly picking people off and it's like a joke. And then somebody at fucking, that movie studio was like, I'll show you a joke. Ugh.
Jason versus Alien versus Predator.
What's this?
A recommendation: Jason versus Alien versus Predator. Who would win?
I don't know of any official thing about that, but I mean, again, Jason basically regenerates supernaturally, so there's really no keeping him down. Like he's just basically always going to resurrect. Freddy vs. Jason's pretty cool, because the story of it is that the town that Freddy usually haunts, they've managed to drug all the teenagers like on the down low so that they don't have dreams, and they've basically completely suppressed the memory of Freddy in this town, right?
Yeah,
and with the kids not dreaming, plus there being no memory of him, he's almost kind of powerless. He's not able because he's not able to like psychically feed off the kids anymore and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, he's like, okay, so Freddy's thinking to himself, well, I got to do something to make him remember me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, I know, there's this undead hick asshole out in this one camp, right? So I'll fuck with him a little bit, and I'll kind of poke and prod him till he wanders over to, Springville, Illinois, and starts killing people, and they'll think it was me. So he like appears to Jason as like his mom in a dream and gets Jason to like resurrect again and go to the town he usually haunts. But then Freddy decides he has to turn on Jason because Jason's just killing everybody, and now Freddy's not able to.
Yeah. Just when he's about to enjoy killing them, Jason just kills them.
It's a pretty cool ass movie. It's pretty decently well written for what could have been absolutely retarded. It's probably one of the best crossover movies you could hope for, especially like, I mean, this is pre-Avengers, there were shared universe kind of movies weren't all that common. I mean, I think like a year later you had like Aliens versus Predator, but that was not what it should be. I don't think Alien versus Predator movies are bad. They weren't what they should be.
How many of them did they make?
They made 2. I mean, I'll take either one over fucking Prometheus. Like all night and day,
Oh, I was looking through some old clips of Jason X, and apparently there's a scene where he stumbles on 2 pretty girls, and he kills them in their sleeping bags.
Oh yeah, because like they hide in like the holodeck of this ship, and to distract Jason, they keep like running these programs of like, like hot girls that are topless that are all like smoking pot to try and distract him while they're trying to, I guess, get like the the escape pod or whatever ready. Because like the scene where the chick dressed like a dominatrix fights him, that's actually like the one guy's sex robot, right? And like she's all basically just like this little sex pod all through it, and then he just like she goes to like protect her master. She goes into like all badass chick mode and tries to hold Jason off, and he pretty much makes short fucking work of her. But it's still a cool scene nonetheless. The whole movie's just pretty damn cool. I mean, well, if you're willing to roll with the premise of, you know, it's Jason in the future, and in the future we have spaceships and stuff. If you're willing to roll with that, it's a pretty damn fun movie.
And why not?
Yeah, I mean, why the fuck not? You know, I rather like the idea of like a futuristic setting, but there's supernatural elements. I've always been rather fond of that. You know, I mean, if you accept that there's supernatural elements, then they're not going to just go away when we reach a certain level of technology. That's part of why I always found the I don't want to say story, because that's almost giving it too much credit, but the basic like backstory, the lore of the video game Doom really interesting. Like, I like the idea that, you know, guys on the Martian base are like, we're going to make this wormhole so we can travel faster than light. Oh, shit, we accidentally opened a portal to hell.
Yeah, that's the what's the movie for that is Horizon, Deep Horizon.
Oh shit, I could have told you to Event Horizon.
Event Horizon, that's it.
Yes, Event Horizon is a better Doom movie than the actual Doom movie.
Of course, in the new Doom, they're trying to go into hell because they want hell's infinite resources.
Well, I like the Doom movie. Like I still want an actual Doom movie, okay? Because the Doom movie, I guess, because they were popular movies at the time, basically decides to be Resident Evil in space.
Yeah.
It's like it's a virus that turns people into zombies, except sometimes it turns people into monsters. Well, that's Resident Evil. You know, I want fucking demons coming out of a portal to hell. But yeah, Event Horizon's a damn good movie. I think I may have saw it in the 90s, like rented it when it first came out on tape and all. But it was just a few years ago that I really sat down and watched it again. I was like, this is good.
It's like a little bit of Hellraiser.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Hellraiser's, you know, honestly, Hellraiser is probably my favorite horror series, just because, I mean, again, like any horror series that goes on long enough, there's going to be some, shall we say, questionable movies among them. But the mythos and the lore behind Hellraiser, I don't think any horror franchise, you know, I don't think there's a better horror mythos in the last 100 years than Hellraiser. That said, though, I mean, I freely admit a lot of those movies are pretty weak, but I mean, again, the mythos behind them is just brilliant. There's more interesting theology and more interesting things to say on the nature of sin and temptation in the worst Hellraiser movie than a dozen fucking Kendrick Brothers movies. Those are the guys, by the way, that made Fireproof and Courageous and Flywheel and other bullshit like that.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, I think Flywheel is the best Kendrick Brothers movie, and that's the one they made on a budget of like $300 or some horseshit like that. Like, it has the production values of a really bad like local TV commercial. And I actually think it's the best movie they did.
Yeah,
like,
I can concur with this.
Acting and story wise, it is by like they actually had something to say when they made that movie. Flywheel is worth, if you can get past the abysmal production values, it's a pretty solid flick, actually. And trust me, I don't have a lot of love for the Kendrick brothers. I think they're fucking hacks generally. I mean, I think Fireproof is bad and they should feel bad about it. Courageous isn't quite as poisonous as Fireproof, but it's still a bad movie. I never saw the football one they did, which I think is their most successful. But that's because I don't give a fuck about football. So, like, I was reviewing those on my blog years ago, and I'm like, I'm not going to do the football one because, like, I'm not going to like a good football movie, so I can't be fair to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But you never cared for the Titans? Remember the Titans?
No, I never gave a shit about that. And their football movie is like the same thing, but overtly Christian, as I understand it. I can't remember what the name of it is.
Facing the Giants.
There it is. I kept wanting to say Remember the Titans, but I knew that was the actual Hollywood one. Yeah, but Flywheel's actually good. Shockingly so, because like I watched Fireproof, right? Because I wanted to review Fireproof on my blog because everybody was talking about Fireproof at the time. Like people at my former church were like having viewings of it or some shit. So I reviewed it, and I actually went through like a stage where I was trying to find like decent Christian movies. Like, are there any? I watched Courageous. And then I watched Flywheel, and and now granted, by the time I got to Flywheel, my expectations were pretty fucking low, but I was very pleasantly surprised with that movie. What were other? Oh, I watched one where it was called, I think, Time Changer, where it was like somebody in like 1800s, like seminary school or something, travels to the present day and is just appalled at how, we're all a bunch of heathens and shit like that. And I remember like writing my review, and I started off like, did you ever wonder what H.G. Wells' The Time Machine would be like if it was written by a Christian like C.S. Lewis? Well, I don't know, but I bet it would be better than this piece of shit.
Well, I remember liking it when I first saw it, but yeah, looking back on it now, there's so much more they could have done with it. I mean, one of the funnier lines is when he's going to an R-rated movie for the first time, says, "Stop the movie! They use the Lord's name in vain."
Well, there's so many times in there where they try to do the fish out of water gag, and it just doesn't work. You know what I mean? Because like they run it too long or something like that, and it's just there's plenty of, and then I don't know, like. And you could have done the fish out of water gag with the racial shit. You could have been surprised. You could have had him surprised at like, racial integration. You could have even had him pleasantly surprised at it. But he never once fucking. In fact, there's a time where he goes to get a drink of water, and like right after he gets a drink of water from a water fountain, a little black girl goes up and does it, and he doesn't remark about it at all. And I'm like, I'm calling bullshit here, movie. Like he might either like it or hate it, but he fucking remarks on that shit, especially given the amount of times he's freaked out over and over and over again about fucking cars. Like, we get it. A car is new to you, but after a while. They're just really like, a lot of Christian movies are just really like amateur hour. That's the big problem with them. And then you combine that with the fact that they're so sanitized. You know what I mean? Like I'd love to see a real like, and there are a few of the Exorcist type movies, are good Christian movies, horror movies. But I'd love to see more Christian horror movies done.
And you always point this out, that the horror movie is actually a very good illustration for sin and sin, real temptation. And of course, we've mentioned on this before, is that the biggest problem with Christian movies is they're trying so hard to be a sermon. And it goes back to this idea that if something's not explicitly right wing, it's going to be taken over by the left. But when you make things explicitly Christian and make it into a sermon, you just get good entertainment out of that.
Well, here's the thing. Like, let's say you're a Christian movie maker, right? Well, as a Christian, any Christian might view their job as an opportunity to witness, right? But if you're not first and foremost doing your job, you're not going to have much of a witness, right? If you're working at a factory and you're running around telling people about the gospel instead of doing your actual fucking work, nobody wants to hear it. You know what I mean? Well, if
Yeah,
you're
I
an
guess.
entertainer, your first job is to entertain.
Yeah, and I guess the secular version of this would be the SJWs in Hollywood.
Oh yeah, or if you want to go back to my, to when you and I were kids, fucking Captain Planet. Look at Captain Planet. I mean, hey, look, I mean, aside some of the particulars, it's generally a pretty good message that hey, we should be good stewards of the environment, yay, and recycle and all this little bullshit. That's all.
And the villains were kind of fun, and they even had a character named Duke Nukem.
But yeah, nobody wants to do it because of this mullet fucking douche. All right, you know, because you can't. You know what cartoon actually had an environmental message that was actually subtle about it? Was the Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon with like Princess Sally and shit like that.
Oh yeah.
That actually had like environmentalist themes and didn't beat you over the fucking head with it. But again, you can't if you're not even entertaining, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And also the one to sanitize everything, half of the stories in the Bible would be a hard R.
Yeah, you wouldn't get that impression. I mean, there's stories of betrayal, rape, murder, all that wonderful stuff. And mass genocide on top of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories in the Bible. A lot of these over-sanitized Christians wouldn't have the balls to make movies out of.
Oddly enough, The Simpsons actually made a joke of it because Ned Flanders was actually being faithful to the presentation. He was actually entrusted to make movies, but he was being faithful, and they were showing bloodbaths all over the place, which is that's unusual.
Yeah, look at the Passion of the Christ. Look at everyone's like, oh, it's so terrible. Well, yeah, there's a motherfucker being tortured to death. What did you think? You just think this was gonna? You think you were gonna be sitting there with your popcorn and your fucking Raisinets, not bothered by it? I mean, how'd you think this movie was gonna go? But the other thing about horror movies is there's just something about them that's kind of just explicitly, if not overtly Christian, overtly right wing, overtly K type. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And for no other reason than many of them, you're inherently dealt with an existential threat that you can't make peace with it. You can't reason. You have to deal with Freddy Krueger. Okay, you have to find a way to get him to knock off his shit. You're not going to reason with him. You're not going to be his buddy. So yeah, there's something overtly K-type about many, many horror movies. And then there's certain moral lessons. I mean, so many of these horror movies, it shows, people acting irresponsible, and it costs them dearly.
Mm-hmm. And it's not just the accident that the characters that get killed off are the one who are being like sexually promiscuous.
Yeah, as I said, it essentially became part of Jason's canon. That now, I mean, on one level, you could say, well, that's just an excuse for the filmmakers to show some titties before they show some violence, and maybe it is because people like looking at titties. That's going to get some butts in the seat, sell some tickets, But I don't know. Good art is almost always right wing, even if only accidentally.
You tend to forget that in this day and age.
Well, it's so little good art out there. I mean, I've said before, the superhero genre is inherently right wing. No matter how much you have, say, a superhero like Green Arrow, as traditionally in the comic books was very liberal, and I mean, now, I mean, he was only ever, back in the day as left wing as Sargon is, which today is not all that left wing. But no matter how much he wants to ramble on about, these sort of bullshit leftist causes, I mean, there's something just inherently anti-egalitarian about the superhero. It's somebody who's taken a very special role to protect others. I mean, it's the most positive form of an elite class.
And that was the whole moral behind the Credibles.
Yeah. Some people have these special gifts, and you know, I mean, for as much as something like X-Men has all these, quote unquote leftist politics in it. A lot of times it ends up being extremely right wing because it's extremely identitarian. It's the idea that, your race, which is what mutants is, a stand-in for, is something you just cannot get away from.
And apparently, I wasn't aware of this, but apparently the Kingsman is incredibly K-type.
I've heard that as well.
Yeah, Paul Joseph Watson pointed out, like, I didn't have a chance to see the movies, but apparently in the original, the bad guy is a black man environmentalist who wants to purge humanity because the humans are destroying the planet. I thought, oh, that's unusual. And the director Matthew Vaughn has pointed out, like, it's actually very useful to be a contrarian in Hollywood, because if we were trying to make this movie by committee, you wouldn't be enjoying it.
Yeah.
And it turns out the new Kingsman sequel is making a lot more money than anything else in the theater right now.
Well, people like that. There was actually an article, and it was being passed around a bunch of these leftist sites, and they had, like, the front picture of it was like Donald Trump's head photoshopped over Wonder Woman's face. But it was after the Wonder Woman movie came out, and they were talking about how there's something fascist about the superhero genre. Like, even leftists were starting to catch. That's why these far leftists, are so bad at writing superhero comics. It's just something inherently they can't grasp. Okay. And there's also a certain just black and white morality to it too. You know what I mean? Now don't get me wrong. There's times in superhero comics, there's times in any kind of genre where, okay, good men are disagreeing over what is the right thing to do. And, we explore shades of gray from time to time, sure. But there comes a certain point in superhero comics where it's like, this is wrong, and somebody's going to stand in the gap and stop it, Spider-Man swinging down, across the city, and he sees some dindu trying to rob a store. He doesn't have to take a philosophy class to know what he has to do there, He goes down there and he kicks his ass.
Yeah, he doesn't think about, but he's being oppressed. He's okay for him to do that. But
it's just he had a bad upbringing. It's too fucking bad. I'm going to go down there and I'm going to stop him because he can't be doing that.
It is kind of funny how the SJWs, or the people on the left, I forget who it was that made the article, but that there was a sign that said, if you ever fought and built in Dumbledore's army, if you ever stood against the Empire, your time is now. Like, they do understand morality in the movie sense, but only insofar as it's so clearly, obviously black and white that's unrealistic. I mean, they have to paint, like, Trump as this ultimate Darth Vader evil person because that's the only morality they understand.
Oh yeah, and again, I mean, the Harry Potter thing's a perfect example. I don't hate Harry Potter. All right, let's get that. Like, everybody, it's one of those things where apparently you have to love it or hate it. I don't hate Harry Potter. I never read the books. I saw all the movies, and I thought they were decent popcorn flicks. I enjoyed them all. I never really had much of an urge to go watch them again, but I saw them all in the theater. Thought they were, and I was happy to see them. I didn't feel like my money was wasted. But that's all they are to me. I don't think they're this fucking amazing thing of philosophy these dipshit leftists seem to think it is. But the thing about Harry Potter is, I defy you to explain to me the motivations of the villain. Maybe in the book there's more to it. I don't fucking know. But near as I can tell in the movie, he's just a dick. And I mean, sometimes there's guys like that in the world. But, I mean, what does he want the fucking school for? What is his plan? What is his vision for the world? I don't know. Nobody fucking knows. Why is anybody siding with him?
Yeah, well, I could try to explain based on what I remember from the movies. Basically, the whole reason why he's obsessed with a school is because Harry Potter is there, and Harry Potter has been destined to kill him. but prior to that, what he was going to do is basically make a he's basically Magneto in that sense. He wants the wizard race to be the pure wizard race and to rule the whole world.
Now again, I only saw these movies once, but I barely glean that out of these films. Near as I can tell, he just wants to like be like, and again, half of it was like, I have to kill Harry Potter before he kills me, and I'm just thinking like, or you could leave him alone, and he won't do that. It's not like he's destined to like break into your house and kick your ass. You're the one kind of causing this conflict.
but I guess he's like the evil person. He has to make life. He's the complete like a complete control freak fascist mentality of you either do everything my way or you don't exist at all. That kind of mentality.
It's such a absolute one-dimensional villain.
Yeah, there's that.
I mean, Magneto once. You compare to Magneto, but the reason Magneto is like that is because he's actually dealt with real oppression, and the mutant people deal with real oppression.
Yeah, he
didn't just one day wake up and say "fuck mankind." Like it actually came from somewhere, Yeah,
he basically survived the Holocaust and ended up becoming like a Nazi himself.
Yeah, that's the other moral lesson in it. You can very easily become the thing you hate. Somebody says Harry Potter and the Paz Load of Enlightenment. They really are not very. I mean, Harry Potter's really not very. It's telling that these fucking SJWs, like, all they ever quote is like Star Wars and Harry Potter. It's like the most basic bitch forms of sci-fi and fantasy, respectively.
Yeah, not all like Red Skull Magneto right here. Actually having a moral discussion about who is actually on the winning side.
There's a comic I remember one time where it's like Magneto and Doctor Doom are having some sort of like diplomatic dinner because at the time Magneto actually ran his own country. Like this island of mutants, Genosha or something.
Oh, yeah.
So like they're having some sort of diplomatic dinner, and it's just like they're basically just sitting there just passive aggressively dissing each other. Like over and over again. And I absolutely loved it because it was just so real and human. Like I could actually see them doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There could never be a scene where Harry Potter and Voldemort are standing across from each other and they're just spitefully staring each other down.
Well, like the new Spider-Man movie, I thought one of the best scenes in there was the scene where the Vulture is like it turns, as spoilers if you haven't seen that movie, mute me for a couple minutes, but it turns out that the girl Peter wanted to go to a dance with was the Vulture's daughter. So like he shows up at the door there, and Michael Keaton opens the door not knowing that it's Spider-Man, obviously not knowing Peter is Spider-Man, and then somehow in talking it dawns on the Vulture like, this is him and all. So there's such like really tense moments as he's driving him to the dance and shit like that. And he's all like, you go in, sweetie, I gotta have a dad talk with the boy here. And then he goes in and he's just immediately like, the facial expression changes and he goes, so does she know? He's like, no, what? And he's like, playing it close to the vest. I respect that. But it's just this really amazing back and forth. It's just it's that movie would have been absolutely fantastic without the fucking Burger King Kids Club diversity casting.
That's why Voldemort's backstory. You don't see it in the movies, but basically the way his parents met, like his mom slipped a love potion into his drink, and unfortunately he found out and never wanted to see her again. And after they've consummated.
Well, that makes sense. It's always the kids from single moms that cause the most trouble. That's what the Harry Potter series is. It's an 8 or however the fucking many movies it is, 7 or something like that. It's like a 7 movie long talk about why single motherhood is bad.
A single mom caused a ruthless genocidal monster to exist.
Yeah. Look at all the damage. Look at all the damage that a single mom caused there. Okay. The whole world could have been enslaved by that ugly snake-looking motherfucker. All because, you know, all because of a single mom. That's always how it is. Somebody in the chat says it was all toxic masculinity's fault.
Yeah, I wasn't aware that slipping Mickey's into other people's drinks is a form of toxic masculinity, especially from a girl.
Well, that was probably internalized misogynies. So I think I mentioned, or you know what? I'll do the sponsors real quick. Sponsors for this live stream are Veritas Morte and Ravendale, 2 books. And I've been giving them a whole bunch of extra ads because I haven't done regular Saturday shows. Obviously, the schedule's been all kinds of mixed up. So the other thing I wanted to announce is this Friday will be the beginning of being back on a regular schedule. Friday at 8 p.m. is the big show for the week. Just going forward. This week, Luke will obviously be joining me. Mm-hmm. And so far, NC Clark has said she'd hop on, and she hasn't been on in a while, so looking forward to that. Other than that, I'm still just wrangling up guests. But yeah, mark your calendars there, folks. It's now the Friday night live stream instead of the Saturday night live stream. Now I am off Saturdays, but I don't want to be up too late because I do want to go to church regularly Sunday, you know, so I don't want to be up doing a live stream and then so that's why it's moved to Friday. You're fine, bud. What else did I want to talk about? Oh, Halloween. I think, did I mention do something the night before Halloween? Yeah, I did, because that's how we got onto horror movies. Yep. I'll probably also be doing some of that Protestant rage hour that, as people call it.
How long has it been? 500 years.
500 years. This 31st. 500 years of not giving a fuck what the Pope says. It's been nice. It's been nice. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. Yep, 500 years now. Well, you know, I mean, there is that one thing in the Bible where it says, "He whoever who believeth in the Pope shall be saved," right? He whoever who believeth in a bureaucratic institution in Italy shall be saved. That's what it says. I don't think that's what it says.
It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember exactly what it was. Oh wait, never.
That's what John 3:16 says, right? He whoever shall believeth in a bureaucratic institution in Italy shall be saved, right? He whoever shall follow the Pope shall be saved.
500 years. So much has happened since then.
Somebody says there's a passage about magic underwear in there somewhere too.
I think that's a different book.
Yeah, that's something else.
Although I'm not sure if the book actually mentions the underwear part. I think that was just a tradition developed afterwards.
For the longest time, I thought that in the what's the big headquarters of the Mormon Church out in Utah?
What they just call Temple in
Whatever.
Utah.
But the big. I thought that like somehow Joseph Smith had actually gotten his hands on some Egyptian tablets or something,
Oh yeah.
and like they were on display there. But somebody told me that wasn't true. But I had heard years ago that they actually had that shit on display, right? Like
Oh
the
yeah.
supposed tablets that he had. Well, the thing
Yeah.
about it is back then nobody could read Egyptian, right? So in theory, back then you could walk around with some Egyptian tablets and say, "Well, this is the book of Bechtloff right here." You don't fucking know. The angel magically told me how to read it. But the problem is now we can translate shit like that. Because, they found the Rosetta Stone, so they were able to break the hieroglyphic code,
Right.
Nobody knows what it sounded like, but we can read it.
Right.
So, like, I've heard I've heard people say that they don't have tablets there. I've heard people say they have tablets there or whatever. Well, but again, if they do, I mean, that's the kind of thing where it's an easily testable thing.
Well, yeah. Well, I think the story is that he did have access to some Egyptian papyrus, but he claimed them to be something different, and so it wouldn't be wise to have them on display right now.
Yeah, supposedly the story is that he found these Egyptian scrolls or tablets or whatever that he translated into the Book of Mormon. Now, I've heard supposedly that he actually did have Egyptian tablets, but a lot of people just think he just bought them or something.
Oh yeah, yeah. That wasn't for the Book of Mormon. I think that was just for like a smaller book outside. I think it was like not the Pearl of Great Price. It was something else that he wrote, but the story about the supposedly he had access to golden plates that are written in ancient Reformed Egyptian that he found in his backyard in Palmyra, New York.
He just found them in his backyard and in Palmyra, New York. He just found them. They were just there. He was digging a fence post, and next thing you know,
well, technically he was told in a dream to dig them up, so he wasn't just happenstantially looking for them.
Oh man, fucking Mormons.
Well, at least they're not the Amish.
They're. You know what? I actually heard somebody like describing like somebody. It was years ago I read, but it was like they were pointing out the similarities between Scientology and Mormonism, and they were basically like this. The core story was so similar in their theology that it was almost like you took like a fantasy story and reimagined it as a sci-fi story. Well, I think I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up for tonight. As I said, Friday night will be the actual big show for the week. I'll do streams throughout the week as I feel able to. There's going to be a lot of these late night streams starting around 12:31. Maybe like a regular Wednesday night because. Yeah, I might do like a more decent time kind of Wednesday night stream, but we'll see. But yeah, that's about all we got for tonight. Luke, thanks as always for being on.
Good to be back.
And I want to thank everybody for listening. And Bechtloff out.